Hello, we're going to be talking about transformations of quadratic functions. So I kind of sketched out some pictures to kind of help you put the equation to the actual movement of the quadratic or the parabola. Here I've got a parent function, f of x, and we know that means y. This whole thing means y is equal to x squared. So we've got our U-shaped curve here, and parent functions always go through 0, 0. Then when we start doing our transformations, we're looking at how the vertex, which is either the highest point or the lowest point of the quadratic move. So here we saw that the quadratic moved right. So think about, again, what would I have to do to get this quadratic back to its origin? So that's why I have x minus whatever that number is, and I have to let people know what kind of function it is. So I have squared to let everybody know this is a quadratic function. Here, the quadratic is sitting left, so in order to get back to the origin, I would have to add, because it's negative something, you add to get back to the origin. Hence why I have x plus h squared, and then it didn't go up or down, so I put 0 there. Here, I just had the parent function, and all it did was drop down. So I have x squared minus k. Notice when we're talking about an up or down movement, our sign shows exactly what the quadratic did. So we drop down, so I have minus k. Here, the parabola went up, so it's plus k. Here, it was a reflection of the quadratic, so I put a negative here, because if you remember from our notes, if our coefficient, which there's an imaginary coefficient of 1 here, is negative, the quadratic frowns at you instead of smiling at you in these other examples. So let's go ahead and work with our IXL here, and we are going to take this up to 80 or above. So our first question is, find g of x, where g of x is a translation 9 units up of our x squared, or our quadratic function. So what they're asking us to do is to compare or to move our original function to create a new function, which is called g of x. Now, there is no left or right movement, so we're looking at just this part right here. We're looking at the k, and we know that because it says 9 units up. So our new function would be x squared plus 9. Our next question says, find g of x, where g of x is a translation 1 unit right of f of x equals x squared. So I've got my parent function. Now, when there is a movement left or right, remember that's inside the parentheses. So I'm going to say, okay, my g of x function is now x. What did it do? It moved right. So if it moved right, I think to myself, what do I have to do to get this function back to its origin? So I would subtract 1. What kind of function is it? It's a quadratic, so I need my square up here. And it did not move up or down, so this would be my answer, x minus 1 squared. Let's look at the next one. We've got find g of x, where g of x is a reflection across the x-axis. So we've got our original function, which is x squared. Reflection means it turned downward. So instead of smiling at you, it's going to be frowning at you. Okay, so I guess I could have put some eyes up there anyway. So this would be negative x squared, because there was no left or right movement, no up or down movement, just a reflection. All right, let's look at number 4. Find g of x, where g of x is a translation of f of x 6 units left. So left or right movement is always on the x-axis, so I'm going to put my x here, and it said it moved 6 units left. So I think to myself, what do I have to do to get it back to the origin means I have to move 6 units to the right. What type of function is this? It's a quadratic, so I need my square. There was no movement up or down, so I can put plus 0. I put that in the wrong spot. So this goes here. Right here. Yeah. Forgive me. So we're going to put x plus 6. Come out here and put our squared. Now you could put plus 0. It doesn't matter if you don't, because it's understood that it's plus 0. All right, let's take a look at number 5 here. So it says we're going to find find g of x, where g of x is a translation 5 units up of f of x equals x squared. So again, this time there's no right or left movement. The quadratic is simply moving from the origin, and it says up. So it looks like this, right? So we're just going to say x squared, parent function, all it do is move up. All right, so let's look at our next one. Now this time, oh my goodness, they gave us a graph. But remember, it doesn't change. Nothing changes about this. We're just going to look at the graph, and instead of looking at it in words, we're going to have a pictorial representation. So remember that f of x is our parent function, which is x squared. Now, we're going to see the new translation of g of x. So the graph shows g of x. This is what the translation looked like when it was done. Of f of x, which is the original parent function. Write the function rule. In other words, write what it did. So we see that it moved 2 units to the right. So what we know is if it moved 2 units to the right, in order to get back to where it was, we have to subtract 2. We have a quadratic function, so we need a squared. There is no up or down movement, so we can put 0. Now here it says write your answer in a x minus h squared plus k, where a, h, and k are integers or simplified fractions. Well, at this point we have integers. So we're just going to type this in. It's x minus 2 squared, and we don't need to put the plus 0. You can if you like. All right, let's look at this one. So number 7, we've got our original function, which is f of x, which equals x squared. Please excuse my phone. So we've got x squared, and then we've got g of x is equal to. Now look at what the function did. There's no up or down movement, only left or right movement. So this would be, it moved 8 to the left. Think to yourself, what do I have to do to get back to the origin here? Well, of course, I'd have to move 8 to the right. And what kind of function is it? It's a quadratic function, so I need my squared, no movement up or down. So this is what we would type. Wow, that didn't take long to get to 80 at all. Let's see if, I think I'll feel like taking it as far as I can in less than 10 minutes. So, find g of x, where g of x is a translation 8 units right of f of x equals x squared. So we have x squared, our new g of x is x, and we moved 8 units to the right, so to get back to the origin, I'd have to move 8 units to the left. It's a quadratic function, so I have my squared here. No up or down movement, so I'm going to say plus 0. So x minus 8 squared. Now this one says we've got find g of x, where g of x is a translation 2 units right of f of x equals x squared. So we've got g of x, and it moved 2 units right, so we have to do move back 2 units to get to 0, and there's no up or down movement. I'm looking for one where we have both, so I might go a little bit longer than 10 minutes. Oh, look at us. We're already in the excellence. Well, this is what I'm looking for. So here we have f of x, which is x squared, right? We have a translation that was shown on the graph of g of x, and we're told to write the function rule in our vertex form. So here we go. What happened first? We always deal with the x first. So here, the vertex is at -4, -3. So that tells me that my function moved 4 to the left. So to get back to 0, 0, I would have to add 4. What kind of function is it? It's a quadratic. Then what happened is I moved down 3. And so this would be my answer, x plus 4 squared minus 3. Now notice, my vertex is at -4, -3. And you will learn furthermore about vertex form. It is one of the most wonderful forms, and you can tell it from an equation as well as from a graph. So I'm going to end it here, and as always, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm here for you. So I'm going to put my answer in so we can celebrate together that we got our answer right. We got it. All right. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later.